In this episode, we are joined by Richard Detering. He's a bodybuilder, online coach, and former FIFO worker. Richard has an awesome story. From speaking 2 languages, turning his pain into his purpose, and chasing his goals, he has a great mindset and some cool experiences so far. Expect to learn about why being bullied turned him to the gym, how he deals with social media hate, his FIFO experiences, his lessons from bodybuilding, why surrounding yourself with the right people is so important, the mindset to make good choices, plus so much more. Richard is a seriously driven individual, and I feel like we only scratched the surface of what he can offer, so I look forward to sitting with him down in the future, but for now, it was a great episode, and we got to know a lot about him and his journey so far. This podcast is proudly sponsored by RecLab, Perth's first ever fully dedicated recovery centre. If, like me, you are seeking peak physical and mental performance, you have to go down and see Pete and the team at RecLab, located in Wembley. They've got everything you need: hot and cold plunge pools, a steam room, traditional sauna, compression boots, a hyperbaric chamber, and much more, all designed to get you performing at your best and keeping you there. Best of all, the space is designed to foster community, which makes it the perfect place to catch up with mates while improving your overall well-being. Their pre-sale memberships are on offer now, so head to reclab.com.au to secure yours. And if you mention myself, Egan, and the podcast, Timeless Mindset, you'll get some free merchandise when you sign up. But before we start, this podcast of mine is a major passion, and I love sharing these stories and ideas. But I also do like seeing the 5-star ratings increase. It does show the impact is growing, and it makes me happy. So if you could press the 3 dots in the profile and click rate show, it would definitely mean a lot to me. Thank you. Let's begin. Richard Detering, welcome to the podcast.
Awesome to be here, man. Thank you for having me.
So your childhood, you've been to a lot of places, and English isn't even your first language. So I guess take us through some of your childhood experiences of moving around.
So I was born in Africa, born in Namibia, which is a southwest part of Africa. Some people may know, others might not. It used to be a German colony. So during the Second World War, when Hitler was stuffing around in Germany, a lot of German people moved to that part of Africa because it was a German colony. So it was quite dominantly German spoken. So yeah, my family is also German background. Lived there. We had a we had a hunting and safari farm over there, 15,000 hectares. But the majority of it was along a main road. About 10, 15 Ks of it was along a main tarmac road. So a lot of times poachers would come in and steal the cattle or any of the animals. So end of the year, weren't really cutting a profit anymore. And my sister and I were at that age where we were going to start school, or primary school, preschool, I guess. And it was either go to a private boarding school or go to a public school. And the public schools in Africa are not, you're not going to get very far. So yeah, parents decided to move. 2001, we came to Australia for about 9 months. Parents rented a, what are they called? One of those gecko vans.
Oh, yeah.
With the little roof sleeping arrangement. And we pretty much drove around, did all of Australia, just to find out where we wanted to go. And parents looked at different business ideas. There was actually quite a few cool ones, but they just weren't viable, like flower farms, that kind of stuff. They ended up buying a cafe in the heart of Melbourne in the CBD. Came in on a 457 visa, where you have to prove yourself to the Australian government that you can own and run a business. And then, yeah, that was Melbourne. Moved to Melbourne, lived there for 6.5 years, grew up there, started school there. Pretty much got thrown into pre-primary. I think it would have been around 2 to 3 months into the year. Didn't speak a single word of English, but I am quite good with languages. Always, even in Africa as a kid, we had guests come in. They spoke different languages. I was hanging out with their kids and whatnot, picked up their languages pretty quick, was able to converse. So when I was thrown in the deep end there in that primary school, there was it was a primary school where they taught German as a second language. So they had English and then German as like a subject, I guess. So during that time, though, I was one of the first German or only German kids in the school. Later on, as the time went on, there were a lot more German kids that came to the school. And what I saw from my own experience was they actually sort of formed their own group. So a lot of them didn't really learn to speak English quite as well. Whereas when I rocked up, I was the only German kid. So I was thrown in the deep end, sink or swim with speaking English. So yeah, within like 2 or 3 months, picked it up pretty good. And obviously being pre-primary, you know, everyone's learning their letters, how to write, all that kind of stuff. So it was a good time for me to actually jump in and learn the language because most of the other kids were as well.
So English is your second language?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
I've always been curious about this. When you can speak 2 languages like quite well, do you automatically respond in English, or do you have to sometimes think about which language you're gonna speak in?
I guess not really. No, not at all. I think the only real struggle with speaking 2 languages is if I spend too much time either way. So what I find now with not spending as much time with my family, because we speak German at home, still speak German now at home. But when I was living with my parents, I'd be speaking German every single day. Whereas now when I go see my parents, I still speak German fluently, obviously, but sometimes there's just words that I have to think of, or it is just so much easier just to quickly rattle it off in English. And I think the biggest thing that I've found now that I've really moved into bodybuilding and stuff is terminology. Like that's been the biggest challenge for me. Speaking to German people, I have got a couple clients that are German. So it's cool to speak German with them, but I have to speak to them in English when I'm talking about coaching or bodybuilding because the terminology is so different. And I've never spoken the German side of bodybuilding. So I don't know a lot of the words or specific terminology. So that would be the only time I actually really struggle to do that. Even speaking to my parents, sometimes if I am speaking about certain things that I have learnt recently, I find, like I said, with the terminology, it's just so much easier for me to rattle it off in English than it is to try and make sense of it in German.
Yeah. Can you give us a bit of German?
What do you want me to say?
Say, welcome to the Timeless Mindset Podcast.
Willkommen zu dem Timeless Mindset Podcast. Heute sind wir hier und sprechen ein bisschen über mein Leben. I just said, welcome to the Timeless Podcast. We're just talking about my life a little bit. It's always one of those funny things. Everyone's like, or you know, back in the day, everyone was always like, "Oh, say something in German." I'm like, well, "What do you want me to say?" I was like, "Oh, I don't know, it's just something."
What did you learn from moving around? How was that experience? Like, obviously, not being able to get settled in a particular country. What was that like?
That was very challenging at times. Obviously, I've only mentioned the Melbourne journey so far, but lived in Melbourne for 6.5 years. Then the cafe didn't really do that well after they had a McDonald's and like a Woolworths style deli open up and like 4 or 5 other cafes. So business spread out quite thin. And this was just before the GFC happened. We actually moved to Queensland for 9 months. Parents tried to start a cleaning business over there, but that was during the GFC, so nothing really took off. And my grandma also got really sick. She was living in Germany. She had lung cancer. So we were the only kids that didn't really get to spend any time living with her or growing up with her. So parents said, well, there's nothing going on in Australia. Let's move to Germany. So we moved to Germany for about 20 months. During that time, my grandma passed away, which was quite sad, but we did get to spend a lot of time with her. We're actually living with her. And then, just during that time in Germany, it is very hard to, if you're a working class family, it is quite hard to make a decent living because cost of living over there is quite expensive. Whereas over here in Australia, you can have, your parents can have a job each and a combined income that is quite sustainable, or you can do some good things. You can go on holiday once a year, that kind of stuff. Whereas in Germany, it's really, really hard to do that unless you're super qualified or you just have a lot of money. So then, after 20 months, we decided to come back to Australia. And obviously with Melbourne, there weren't too many good memories in Melbourne. So parents decided to come to Perth. It was a bit slower, a bit more country vibes, that kind of thing. But just moving around that much, I guess the biggest challenge was always making new friends. And I think that might be one of the reasons why I am quite outgoing, or I seem like I am a bit of an extrovert these days. But no, deep down, a lot of like people don't actually know that I am quite an introvert. I am quite shy. I overthink a lot of things, especially when meeting new people, approaching people, all that kind of stuff. But I think just moving around really forced me to, just step out of my comfort zone with those kind of things and make new friends, because I literally had to. But yeah, a big thing that I recently thought of as well was just the fact that I never actually played any sport as a kid growing up, because we always moved around so much. I never really had the time to jump in, play any sport, that kind of stuff. But no, I think I am very grateful for all the moves that we did. I do have friends all over the world. I have some very, very close friends. One of my best friends of literally 20 years now is in Melbourne, so go see him every now and again. And yeah, I've got friends in Germany as well. Talk to them every now and again. So yeah, it's definitely awesome. It's obviously led me to where I am right now. So I am definitely grateful for all the moves. It has taught me a lot. I wouldn't really change it for anything, to be honest.
Yeah, I think team sports are massive, isn't it, for building friends? And then I guess bodybuilding and the whole gym lifestyle can be quite individual, right?
Yeah, to an extent. I think it depends how deep you get into it. Obviously, with where I'm at right now, or with how committed I am to the sport right now, I do think it is quite an individualized sport. Just with how committed you have to be to the lifestyle, which is eating, sleeping, and training in a nutshell. But I guess where it started, I started my gym journey just over 10 years ago now. Started because I was a chubby little kid. Like I said, never really got into any sports, that kind of thing. And just going to the gym, I was actually invited to go to the gym by one of the guys that I was working with at a local butcher at the time. So yeah, always used to go together, train together. So there is that element of creating friendships. And if you spend enough time at a gym, you'll find that majority of people that go to the gym will go at the exact same time every day, or similar time slots. So you do end up bumping into the same people. And yeah, I guess unless you're super introverted and just put your headphones in, get your workout in and then leave, a lot of times, you'll bump into those people, have a chat, or like ask them for a spot, those kind of things. So it can go either way in terms of, being quite an isolated sport. It just depends how you apply yourself to it, I guess. And in the early days as well, when I was going to the gym, a lot of the boys from school, we all went to the same gym. So school finished, we'd go home, get changed, and then go to the gym. So you'd always see familiar faces. So in that way, there is definitely an element of socializing. And even now, I find when I go to certain gyms, I do know a lot of people that go to that specific gym. So my gym sessions will end up being an hour longer, because I end up just talking to different people. Different people approach me, friends, all that kind of stuff. So yeah.
Take us back to being in high school and being excluded from team sports. Being someone who's been involved in team sports, there's that sense of belonging, and you make so many connections. What was that like to not have, like a purpose with the sports side of things?
It was quite challenging, I think. And one of the hardest times I actually had in school was when we moved back to Perth, because I got moved into year 8. That's just where it lined up with where I should have been with the curriculum and my age and stuff. So, and I think that is sort of the age where everyone starts to form their own little groups, and it is harder to actually get in somewhere. So it was, like I said, it was the hardest time for me in my school life. There was a few days and weeks at a time where I did not want to go to school because I felt really excluded. And that wasn't necessarily due to the sports side of things. I guess that the biggest exclusion there was just because I didn't look like I played any sport, or wasn't really that good at any sport. Always got picked last or second last during PE or whatever, for if we were doing any team sports, because I didn't really have a specific skill. I wasn't strong, I wasn't fast, couldn't catch a ball to save my life. If you ask a couple of my friends that, they will have a good laugh about that, because my motor skills, I guess, were quite terrible due to obviously not having any sort of sport in my life. But yeah, I think during the first year there in year 8, it was really hard for me to find some good friends. But I did, within about 4 or 5 months, I did find some people that I really enjoyed hanging out with. They were more into riding bikes and scooters, so that's something that I got into for that period of time. And then as high school slowly progressed, I moved to some different friendship groups because of people I was hanging out with or people I was in class with, and then sort of evolved from there. But yeah, it's always interesting to be that guy that was picked last for any sort of sports, or you end up just being that guy where the teacher goes, oh yeah, Richard, jump on that team or whatever. I don't think it really affected me too much, because at that stage I didn't really care what people thought. But yeah, deep down it was, I guess it did sort of affect me in a way, because as soon as I started the gym, I just went all in on that side of things, just keen to change and keen to, be better, be bigger, stronger. And that's just stuck around until now.
Yeah, like you say, you don't care, but then that's probably giving you all the fuel, like, to get to where you are.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. If you ask anyone that is very into the gym or is very into bodybuilding, that kind of thing, there was always some sort of trigger that has led them to go down this path, because a lot of it is body dysmorphia. Like, why would you consistently want to just get bigger or better or stronger? It is a good trait to have on one side, where you're always looking to improve yourself, your physique, everything around that. Obviously, your mindset also really improves when you constantly work on yourself. But on the other hand, it is also like a body dysmorphia thing. Why are you never satisfied with what you have? There's a lot of people that might be like, that is the dream physique that you've got going on right now. And for me, I'm like, well, I have got years to go to where I want to head. So yeah, it can be a double-edged sword for sure.
What specifically got you into the gym? What sort of, were you looking at certain role models in the space? It's
actually kind of funny, because I talked about this with a friend of mine quite recently, in terms of, I told him I saddled the horse backwards when it came to bodybuilding and just the gym in general. Because you normally talk to people and they were like, oh, I saw Arnold, I saw Ronnie Coleman, or had this guy I was looking up to, saw this guy in a magazine. But I'd never even heard of bodybuilding before I started the gym, never been a fan of any sort of person or role model or anyone that I looked up to. So when I started the gym, it was purely just because I wanted to not be a chubby kid anymore. And even then, I think it was only about, I'd say about maybe 6 months before I actually started taking bodybuilding seriously, that I started looking at bodybuilding competitions, all that kind of stuff. I did follow a whole bunch of people on Instagram and Facebook. The classic, if you're in the bodybuilding realm, you'll know people like Simeon Panda, Zach Perner, Ulysses, all these early guys that were really into posting on social media. I was following them for ages, Callum Von Moger as well. But they were more just like your typical fitness influencers. They weren't really into competing and that side of things. And it's funny, I actually have never been to a bodybuilding show or even watched a whole show before I competed. When I competed in my first show, that was the first time I'd ever experienced anything to do with competing in that sense. Because a lot of people normally, they go watch a show, or they've seen the Olympia, or they've watched other shows before they jump in. But for me, I was just, had never even watched it or looked into it.
You said, you spoke about like wanting a better physique. Where's that balance, and what's that been like over your journey? I guess that acceptance of like, I'm content with where I am now, but I want to get better. Or is it like a treadmill where you feel like you're never feeling like you're good, your body is good enough and you need to be bigger and stronger?
I think it started for me as a hobby. Going to the gym, like I said, with my mate, we were just stuffing around, watching YouTube videos to find exercises, and never really had a plan, because the biggest thing with going to the gym, if you want to make good progress, you've got to follow a structured plan, or at least log your lifts, your weights, your reps, so that you know that you are progressing each week. But for 6.5 years, I didn't do that. I just went into the gym and I sort of knew what I had to do for each muscle group to, work through and get a workout in. And to be honest, I forgot what the question was. I've gone a sidetrack now. The body side of things. So early on, like I said, it was just a hobby. And then it led to just wanting to be bigger and stronger. And now, for me now, I know that I have got a decent physique. And
decent's an understatement, but you can...
I get that. And that's where, it's a personal opinion. For me, I know that there is a lot more progression that I can make. But for me right now, I know that I am very satisfied with where I'm at. I'm very proud of the work that I have put in and the amount of commitment that I've put into my physique and getting it to the point where I am at. But there is also that unrealistic standard that I set for myself by following a whole bunch of IFBB professional bodybuilders where, you see them jump into a competition. I'm like, wow, this guy's 110 kilos on stage, peeled to the bone, and I'm 90, so I have 20 kilos to go. But, these are the people that are at the top of their league, at the top of the best in the world. So it is a good thing and a bad thing to not compare myself, but chase that dream. I am obviously very confident with my physique. I don't ever get scared about taking my shirt off anywhere. I've walked into Coles without a shirt on and got some very interesting looks. Probably not the most ideal place to be shirtless in the fresh food section, I guess. But in that sense, the confidence is there, but I am also constantly chasing that next level physique. And I do think that is a good thing. Working towards being the very best you can in a certain area of life is very rewarding, I think. And it's something that I learned a few years ago. I just came to a realization where I saw that every single person, if you are working in some sort of area of life, it doesn't have to be bodybuilding, it can be anything, but if you do it for long enough, you will become one of the best in the world in that area, whether that is, being an electrician or a plumber or riding bikes, doing podcasts. If you do this for long enough, you will be one of the very best in the world if you just keep trying to be a little bit better. So I do think for someone to go through life without working towards being the very best they can be in any sort of field, it's interesting, to see certain people just plod through life, I guess, if you want to call it that. And I think bodybuilding is a really good thing you can keep progressing in because it's so measurable. It's very easily measured. Is your strength going up? Are you getting heavier? Are you gaining size? When you're competing again, are you moving up in placings? It's a very easy thing to measure if you are progressing in that. If you're a heavy diesel mechanic or a plumber, it's very hard to sort of measure if you are getting better in that sort of field, especially if you're not changing jobs or getting pay rises or this and that. There's no competition, I guess, in that sense, or measurable metrics where you can say that you are getting better. That's why I really love bodybuilding, because it's so easy just to know that you are progressing.
And those other ones, the metrics that we use are normally external and subjective, like whether it's sport, like people's opinions, or even money to a certain extent. Like a certain level of luck and circumstance can play into that, and then you start to buy into the external side of things, where I guess with bodybuilding you can directly associate your efforts with the outcomes and feel almost like you got that versus
100%.
Attaching your identity to things outside of you.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. And I do think that is something where every single individual person, obviously I've got quite a few clients as well, love watching them progress because they're all in their own little journey. And as long as I can sort of teach them to not look at what other one of my clients are doing progress-wise or comparing themselves to other people online, as long as they get their head around the fact that they are on their own journey, It's just so cool to watch everyone progress in their own sense. And again, with that comes like very measurable progress that you can make with your physique, whether that's fat loss, whether that's gaining muscle, getting stronger, or just even getting healthier. It's so easy to measure, and it is very rewarding in that sense. When you do apply yourself quite well, you do make that progress and you can measure it. And it really, I've seen a lot of people completely change their mindset and just gain so much confidence through seeing their physique change, or just seeing the progress that they're making in the gym. Just gets them fired up, and it's really exciting to see. I think that's probably one of the best things about being an online coach, is just being able to watch everyone progress and make progress.
How's your confidence changed?
A lot. Yeah. From the very early days, I never used to take my shirt off, that kind of thing. This is back when I was maybe 13, 14, 15, before I got into the gym, that kind of thing. I recently obviously had some surgery to get some gyno removed. So I did have, I don't know if you want to call it man boobs. They weren't ever that bad because I wasn't that overweight, but I had some tits, I had a bit of a belly, that kind of thing. So there were times when we were going to the pool or just at the beach, either wore a rashie or just didn't want to take my shirt off, just spent, the day sitting outside of the pool, that kind of thing. But obviously as the years go on, and it's funny to reflect on this as well. I look back through some of my pictures, earlier days when I was a lot smaller than what I am now, and just knowing how I felt in that moment, I was like, I thought I was the man. I thought I was a bodybuilder. I thought I was big. I was strong, all this kind of stuff. And now, since then, I've progressed so far. I wouldn't say it's cringy, but I definitely am looking back now, and I'm like, I can't believe you thought that you were the man back then. So it is really cool to see that confidence, even though sometimes it is definitely associated with a lot of delusion, I think, because you think that you've made this progress, you are now X, Y, or you are a top dog or whatever it is. But it's having confidence. I don't think it is a bad thing, as long as you don't let your ego get in the way of that kind of thing, because your ego can definitely ruin being a confident person if you are flaunting it, if you are telling other people that they aren't as good as you just because you might be stronger or look better, that kind of thing. If you can keep your ego out of it, then I think confidence is probably one of the best traits that you can have as a person. It will get you very far in life, not just with taking your shirt off at the beach, but just job interviews, talking to people, networking, talking to girls, that kind of thing. It's confidence is big. It depends what sort of people you surround yourself with, whether you're going to sway one way or another. I think if you have a whole bunch of people, a whole bunch of yes men in your corner that tell you that you are the best, or you are looking the best, you can sort of let that that line sway into the negative side when you start thinking you're better than everyone else. But if you manage to stay humble and be proud of how far you've come, or proud of your achievements, but know that there are always going to be people that are better than you in many things.
How do you balance being proud of yourself? This is something I feel like I'm trying to work my way through. It's like being proud of yourself, loving where you're at and how far you've come, but also not getting complacent, because it's so easy to stay comfortable and stop seeking that discomfort and the grind that continues, to take you further. But how do you sort of think about how far you've come versus how much further you want to go?
That's a really good one. I think there's two big things that go into this, and one is setting yourself goals that are always going to allow you to progress in some sort of way. Set yourself big goals and then break them down to smaller goals so that you can achieve the smaller goals while you're heading towards a bigger goal. And then also just the people that you surround yourself with. I think that I currently have a really good group of people around me where I am definitely not the best in certain aspects. There are certain aspects of life where I might be doing a lot better than they are, but in other aspects of life, they are way ahead of me. And those aspects where they are doing a lot better. Those are aspects that I want to grow into. So just seeing people and having people around me that are a lot better than what I am, it pushes me to strive to be better, to try either catch up to them or just to push myself into, into be better, I guess.
Take us through FIFO and how you got into that. And I guess you have a large social media presence surrounding this content. So take us back to the start of that.
So started my apprenticeship with Heavy Automatics. They do, they're quite specialized in the sense that they only work on the automatic transmissions of trucks and machinery. So I started with them because one of my friends, a good friend Shane, his dad owns the company. And when I was looking for an apprenticeship, I actually was looking way too late because I finished year 12. I did my WACE exams, got an ATAR. And so while I was doing that, I had no help from any teachers or any advice from anyone to be like, hey, you should start looking for an apprenticeship like 6 months into the year to start next year. So when I finished high school in whenever that would have been September, October, finished WACE exams, I started looking for an apprenticeship then because I knew I didn't want to go to uni, and it was already way too late. So it was, really awesome to have the opportunity come up and for his dad to offer me an apprenticeship with his company. But then after about 2.5 years, I just felt like the workshop or the company was too specific or too specialized in one area. So as an apprentice, I wanted to make sure that I was learning a lot more. And at that time, I also really wanted to get into mining. So I jumped ship and continued my apprenticeship on. I actually did a slightly different apprenticeship. One is for heavy diesel mechanic, but working on-road trucks. And the other one is for mobile plant. So all the big dump trucks, that kind of thing. I think the only real difference between the two apprenticeships or the courses is one or two elements. So they are quite interchangeable. I started working for McMahon and they were in mining. So as soon as I hit my third or fourth year of my apprenticeship, they sent me to site. They had a program going where they sent all their apprentices to different sites for they said 6 months, but it ended up just being as long as they needed. Until I guess I was like, hey guys, I'm still here. Are you gonna move me around or what? So started FIFO in the worst, hottest time of the year, just around Christmas time. I think they did that with the apprentices to sort of give the site some extra labor during times when a lot of people took time off during Christmas and in the summer period. So I was thrown in the deep end. Started at Telfer, which is the second hottest place in the world, that Marble Bar region. Second to is it Death Valley in the USA. So it was definitely a very hectic experience to start at a mine site like that. I was there for about 9 months, and I had a really awesome crew there. So I think honestly it was the best way to start my FIFO career. The supervisor there at the time, he was a real big believer in like apprentices are the future. So he gave me a lot of experiences and a lot of challenges to work on some of the really big jobs. Instead of just getting me to sweep the floor because I'm the apprentice, he put me into the big jobs, got me working with one of the best tradies that they had there, just to gain experience and that kind of thing. So started off at Telfer and then moved to Tropicana, which was another McMahon site, a lot bigger site, a lot more modern site. That was also very good. And then from there, I went to a really small site called Mount Morgan. That was a really cool experience in itself because it was such a small site. They had a couple people leave, so I ended up being the guy to do all the breakdowns. So the breakdown fitter normally has his own ute where you chuck all your tools in, and then if anything breaks down in the pit, you drive out to it, you diagnose it, you fix it. And that was really cool because I was sort of in charge of my own time and learned a lot of things, because you really have to think on your feet if you're diagnosing something. This thing's supposed to be working, it's probably stuck in a really bad spot. It was a really cool experience. And then from there, finished my apprenticeship, and yeah, I guess I was just a bit bored of working at a really small site. It was sort of the attitude there was you had to make something out of nothing. They expected a really good job, but didn't really give you all the tools or parts to achieve those kind of results. So then, yeah, moved over to FMG. And with FMG back then, they had rule where you had to work for a contracting company first during your probation period. So it was a lot easier for them to sort of move you on if you weren't up to standard, I guess. So yeah, did 4 months with Premium Mechanical, and then yeah, signed over to FMG, and yeah, during that time was working 2-in-1. During that time, also started dating Danny, and the company was looking at moving to an even time roster after about a year or so, which was super exciting. I was very keen to be home a lot more, but before that, I'd never actually worked an even time roster. I'd always just worked 2-in-1, and with a few of the sites I worked at, we actually flew in the day before, so it was more like 15 days on, 6 days off kind of thing. And coming off night shift, that normally turns into about 4 days off, trying to switch back from being on night shift to day shift. That's probably one of the hardest things about working FIFO, is coming back home and then just being so fatigued, having to switch back to being awake during the day. But yeah, so even time roster came around, and really big stigma around working that even time roster, or it's something that everyone always talked about, that I always heard, was that when you work in even time, you have too much time at home, you get bored, you end up spending way too much money because you're just looking for things to do. So I guess that was just a FIFO mindset that a lot of the guys had, because they, now looking back, I'm like, well, they obviously didn't have a hobby, or they just enjoyed drinking that much that they were always at the pub spending money. So for me, I wanted to have something to do. So during that time, when we went 2-on-2, I started studying my Cert 3 and 4 in personal training. Danny had just started it probably 3 or 4 months before, and I thought it would be something cool. It was obviously a growing passion for me, bodybuilding, that kind of thing. And it sort of also turned into an exit strategy for me. Initially, I gave myself 10 years. I wanted to spend no longer than 10 years in mining, no matter where I was at. I said, even if it is financially not the right decision to do, I would pull the plug and not end up like most guys up there in their 50s, 60s, completely busted up, still working, because you've just set yourself an unrealistic standard of living, spending too much money, that kind of thing. So yeah, it was sort of a decision I made where I was like, this could possibly lead to me in the future then being able to move into that and no longer work FIFO. So yeah, started studying, and I knew that I wanted to predominantly work online, or at least start there, because I would be able to have some online clients and still work FIFO. At the time, I was also working at Bodies by Ryan. I saw that you had Ryan on the podcast the other day. Shout out to him. He's an awesome bloke. He took me under his wing. Even when I just had started studying, he was really keen to get me on board. And I learned so much through working with him specifically, and just working for Bodies by Ryan, doing the group training sessions, really getting thrown in the deep end there again. Obviously, you have up to 24 people, I think it is, per class. And I think at that time, he had over 300 members across his 3 locations. So for me, someone who is not always that confident, especially with meeting new people, that kind of thing, it was such a deep end to be thrown in, to meet these people, remember their names, because Ryan is so big on just remembering everyone's names and greeting everyone by their names. So yeah, it was a really big challenge, but I think I definitely, it was a really cool way to start my PT career, I guess. There is a lot of people that work online that have never worked on the gym floor ever. So it is quite hard to know how to coach someone online if you've never actually coached anyone in person. So yeah, started that. I was technically working 3 jobs for about 6 months there. I had a few online clients to start with, mainly just mates reaching out, being like, hey man, do you reckon you could write me a program? That kind of thing. So started very slow. A few online clients, working for Bodies by Ryan on my breaks, the 2 weeks I had off. And then, working FIFO as well. And that sort of slowly but surely transitioned more into me growing my clientele. And I guess the biggest push for me was initially I was like, I want to work online. The best way to work online or to get clients is to grow my following, have a decent presence on social media, because with that will come more exposure to more people seeing, I guess, my content, and also just seeing who I am online, and then being able to work with them. So I started working with a bloke called Simon from his company is the Strong Media company. I think he works with people to grow their social media, and he does like a 16-week course where he goes through essentially everything you need to learn to post, like what time to post, how to edit videos, how to find your niche, how to film talking head reels, all that kind of stuff, everything that goes into making videos online. And he also hosted 2 to 3 weekly catch-up sessions where he would then go through one piece of content that you submit, and he would just give you some feedback on that. Be like, okay, you need to start with a bit better hook, or put some captions on it, move your captions around, or use better lighting, all that kind of stuff. So he'd give you tips and walk you through things. And it was very good to work with him because he was quite one-on-one as well. Oftentimes he'd send me reels to just be like, hey, this would be really cool if you, did this or copied this or filmed something similar. So it was really cool to work with him, just having a plan in place for posting. And I think I posted daily for just over a month when I had one of my reels go super viral, which was an insane experience in itself. It's currently sitting at around 10 million views. The day in a life of a FIFO worker video. So with that, I think for about 3 or 4 months, I had, at the start of the peak, it would have been around 10 to 12 million people. My reach was at about 12 million for the month, 12 million people coming to my page. And looking back, I was not ready for that at all, because when something of yours goes viral, it brings a lot of attention to your page. So it's a really good time to promote any products you might be selling. And it is also a really good time to keep posting a lot of other videos. So I also had a lot of other videos go quite viral, sitting at over a million, 2 million views, talking about different things. Experimented with some talking head reels, just giving some more insights into FIFO, talking about my pay. It's actually kind of funny. There's a funny story around the pay, the reel where I talk about the pay. I posted that, and then I only found out later that it would have been about 3 or 4 months before I posted that reel. The government actually changed the law around talking about your pay openly online, because before it was, I don't know if it was illegal or if it was just not, you weren't allowed to talk about your pay. But with the Fair Work Commission and things around that, they changed the laws to give workers more, just knowing how much other companies are paying. It gives you a bit more leverage, I guess. So it's kind of funny to know that if I posted that 3 months before, it would have been illegal or something. And that really popped off as well, because a lot of people didn't know how much we got paid up there. And I guess also just watching these reels circulate around the world to people who had never heard about FIFO. They'd never heard about working 2 weeks in a row, 12-hour days, and then having 2 weeks off. It's a concept that is, quite foreign to a lot of people. So all those videos did quite well. And then I moved into posting some more funny stuff. Got a lot of hate on that as well, which is kind of funny. I think hate is great because it means you're doing something right. If people are hating on you, you're definitely, doing something. So a lot of times as well in my reels, I can pinpoint exactly what I did in that reel for it to go viral. So either certain hooks, things that I said, or a really classic one is I posted a video on making sure that when you fly in, first thing you do is to clean your aircon filter in your room. A lot of times the cleaners don't have time to actually clean these filters out because they only get about 15, 20 minutes to clean the rooms. So something that a good friend of mine told me, he was like, first thing I do when I fly in is I take my aircon filter out, wash it out, and then let it dry, put it back in. So I just did a little FIFO tip video on that, but it was fly out day and I was wearing my shoes and I jumped up on the bed with my shoes on to take the aircon filter out, and people went crazy. They went like, they really thought that I didn't wear the shoes on purpose. Everyone was like, as if you're worried about the aircon filter being dirty if you are walking on the bed with your shoes on. And just the comments that came through on that video about my shoes on the bed just absolutely sent the engagement through the roof. And like everyone that commented that, I was like, yeah, welcome to my, engagement hack. So yeah, it's different things that I always put in these reels to sort of, just engage people for either good or bad reasons.
How do you, like with your experiences with being bullied and excluded, how do you consciously decide I'm going to make content that's going to get me hate, like almost seeking that out? How do you, like, because when people go through hard experiences, they almost don't want to go through them again. They don't want to get hate. They're trying to run away from it. Do you feel immunized to it, or are you purely doing it because there's the carrot of
the engagement?
Yeah, the engagement.
The thing is, I stopped caring about what people thought a long time ago. I can't remember what event or what it might have been in my life that just made me stop caring about what people thought. I honestly couldn't tell you, but there was a time in my life where I just went, I honestly don't care what anyone thinks right now. I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. I am enjoying life. I am going through life doing what I want to do. So someone else's opinion is not really going to matter. That was sort of the surface level of me not caring about what people thought. Only recently, with all this hate, I've sort of delved deeper into it and, had chats with people and even other people online. Just commenting has just opened my eyes up to what hate really is, or why people actually hate. And the biggest thing is it's just a projection of their own insecurities, their own emotions or feelings that they have or that they are denying. So seeing people write some absolutely horrible things, some of the things people have said have just been ridiculous. So just seeing that, I'm like, man, who hurt you? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, what gets you up in the morning to be able to comment something like that? And even just people commenting stupid stuff like, man, this is so boring, or this is so stupid, or this is, no one cares. That's my favorite one. My favorite hate comment that I can get any day of the week is someone spending 2 to 3 minutes of their day going onto my video and typing, no one cares, when they cared enough to comment that, to make sure that I know that no one cares. It's my favorite reply. Honestly, I just go, well, you care enough to comment, so who's the clown here? So just to answer your question with that, just to wrap it all back up, I never actually put any of these hooks or things in there to get hate specifically. I thought it was pretty funny jumping on the bed with my shoes. I was like, oh, some people are going to comment like, what the fuck are you doing with your shoes on? So I never really specifically was seeking out the hate comments. I was seeking out engagement, and certain people had a laugh about it. Other people hated. So obviously that comes from their own insecurities or projections of whatever stuff they're going through, whether they were going to hate or find it funny. Another really good one was where I filmed myself flying in on flying day, coming back from a swing, where I try to open the door to my house and I pretend that it's locked, look through, I'm like, oh, what's going on? I bang on the door, and Danny opens the door and puts her hand out. And I was like, oh, of course, I haven't paid her yet. So I gave her a wad of cash, and then she opened the door and pretended to love me and give me hugs and kisses, and then we walked inside. And there was a real mix of people understanding that it was satire and that it was a joke, and other people being like, oh my God, I feel so bad for you. You have to pay your girlfriend to love you. And other people being like, dude, she's getting absolutely railed by 10 other guys while you're working away. And I'm like, yeah, whoa, how'd you know that, man? What? That's crazy. Like, these people think that they know more about your life than you do. Going online and commenting that kind of stuff, it's very interesting to see that. People just, and also just people having arguments in your comment section. It's also very, very funny to see. I had a video once where I think it ended up being about 180 comments between two people arguing about something. It went on for 3 or 4 days, and it was just one guy not letting up and the other guy disagreeing with him. And I was like, guys, you guys are getting absolutely nowhere, but it's all just engagements. It's very funny. So yeah, I don't ever post things to get a negative response. I'm trying to think if I have ever posted anything. Not specifically, no. Obviously, sometimes when I do post something and it gets a certain reaction, I go, oh, okay, that's kind of funny. We can play on that again. We can redo that. We can film it a little bit differently. That's why I had quite a few of the fly-in day expectation versus reality, where I'm just doing a job or a chore versus the reality is me just sleeping on the couch, because that's the reality of it. You fly in, coming off night shift, and you just want to sleep. So, those videos got some good responses, so I just ran back a few of them and posted a few of them.
Can you compare your current job and those circumstances versus when you're doing FIFO, and I guess some of the pros and the cons of both lifestyles, and I guess where your overall head is with that?
I'm very grateful to be in the position that I am right now, because bodybuilding has become a really big passion of mine, and a lot of people that work FIFO will know that bodybuilding while FIFO is probably one of the hardest things that you can do. Not saying that there's not harder things out there, but when it comes to bodybuilding, the main metrics or the biggest things that contribute to making good progress are sleep, food, rest and recovery, and progressive overload. So being in the gym, using the same equipment and logging those weights and stuff, and all those metrics, every single one of them is out the door when you work FIFO. Your sleep is very limited, and you're sleeping on a spring mattress, so sleep quality is never going to be the best. The food quality is very hit and miss up there, even if it's just lack of variety, or sometimes certain sites will only serve rice on 3 out of 7 days a week, or only serve chicken on certain days. So you're limited for that consistency, which is really what you want during for bodybuilding. Working for 12 hours in the sun, in the heat, you are expending a lot of energy. Your body is constantly not stressed, but it's not resting and recovering. And then the biggest one is not having the exact same gym equipment. The resistance is different on different machines. Cable machines especially, depending on how many pulleys you have on the setup, will mean how heavy that plate is. You might be doing 5 kilos at work, but at home you can do 15. So trying to log your weights accurately during that time is very hard. So I guess where I'm at right now, I'm able to earn a decent living and go 110% all in on this bodybuilding side of things. That's also a lot of hate that I have got online when I do post my bodybuilding stuff, is people telling me that I have really shit genetics, or that, I have a really mid physique, considering I've been training for so long. But none of those people know that I've never actually been all in on bodybuilding before, with all aspects of it. Only actually started tracking my food and lifts 4 years ago now. So, and this will be the first year that I am all in on bodybuilding. I'm able to get good sleep, good food, good recovery, and not work my ass off in FIFO. So absolutely, my hat goes off to anyone that is bodybuilding, or even just trying to improve their physique, trying to get somewhere in the gym, in fitness, while working FIFO, because it's not easy. And I think that's been one of my best qualities, I guess, as an online coach that specializes in FIFO, or has a lot of FIFO clients, is simply just having that empathy for people. Just being like, look, man, I know what you're going through. I know I've been there. you've had a really shit day, you've had a hot day, you've had a hard day, take an extra rest day. Don't worry about it. Or, you know, they're not serving chicken at the mess tonight, so I've had to go for steak. You know, calories are going to be out. That's fine. It's all good. What am I going to do? Like, get angry about it or get upset or tell them to be better. It's out of their realm. They can't do anything about it. So just having that empathy and compassion for the people when I wouldn't even say it's stuffing up. It's just like not being 110% on plan. Just knowing what goes into FIFOs. It's a really good quality to have as a coach in general, but especially with people working FIFO, because so much is just out of their hands.
A lot of the outcomes we want are on the other side of really good choices over a long period of time. And I guess FIFO sort of puts you into that hard mode with sleep and diet and recovery and training, which makes it harder to make good choices, and the friction goes well up. Over the journey, what have you learnt about making good choices in terms of delaying rewards, eating the right foods, training, mindset? Because I think when you break it down over, like with anything in life, it's about making a series of good choices in a row.
Yeah.
So what are some fundamental beliefs and philosophies that hold you in good stead?
A good routine will beat any sort of anything at all. It's if I don't have a good routine, or if I didn't have a good routine on site, it would honestly make improving in the gym or bodybuilding so much harder. And that is something that I work with a lot of new people that are new to FIFO. I really try and help fast track that for them, try and give them some tips around building a good routine. When you don't have a routine, you tend to forget things, or you have to make bad choices, as you say, because you are not creating a good routine where things flow very easily. I think with FIFO, the biggest thing with FIFO is time. You are so limited for time because of the long working hours, and then a lot of times as well, when you are on site, the travel to and from site can be up to an hour and a half. I've heard 45 minutes, an hour. So you really only have very, very limited time while you are in camp to yourself, and you still want to make sure you get 7 to 8 hours of sleep. So I guess it's just about consistently being a little bit better, improving on your routine, and knowing that it's not going to be perfect the first few weeks or even months. It took me months to build like a really good routine, where even then sometimes I'd forget certain things. I'd leave my plastic containers in my room, and then I'd have to go back to my room, and that would cost me about 15 minutes of sleep because I'd have to walk back and forth. So yeah, building a good routine will allow you to make really good decisions consistently without thinking about them. Because when you build that routine, when you have certain things in place that are the exact same every single time, like for me, it was come back from work, get changed, pack my bag for the gym. So that would be water, gym towel, any sort of wraps or straps that I'd need. And I'd also bring my food containers where I can grab my food for the next day, pack all that, and then head to the gym at 6 p.m. And just knowing that there is that routine with set steps that I need to do every single time, it allows you to also switch off a bit, because then you know exactly what you need to do without thinking about it. If you try and switch things up too many times, you're thinking on your feet, you have to make different decisions, and then you start forgetting things. So I think having a routine is just, it allows you to constantly make good decisions without having to put in too much effort.
Yeah, I think it helps with accountability a lot. And you're not relying on motivation, because I'm sure like you're absolutely rude at the end of the day. You had a hard day. You're like, fuck, the last thing I want to do is go to the gym. But if you have a clear plan of, this is what I got to do, you can sort of switch off mentally, and you go and you sort of just go there and you get it done, and this is what you got to do, and this is how you've got to do it. And it's sort of really simple and it's clear. Yeah. I think this is something I've had to work through, and I'm trying to get really better at planning. This is one of my biggest goals, is to improve my planning, organization for food and training, and I guess all my work stuff, is because I sometimes think I'm procrastinating because I'm lazy, I'm not motivated, but sometimes I just don't know where to start. Like I don't have a plan in place. I'm like,
you don't have that routine.
Yeah, like what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
And that makes it hard to be consistent.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. It's even at home now I have a routine. So a lot of times when someone asks me like, "Hey, do you want a gym? Can we train at this time?" I almost want to say no, and a lot of times I do just train by myself because I've got that routine in place. If I then change my routine to suit someone else or to, hang out with this person or train with this person, it throws out my whole day, and that's when I'm not consistent. That's when I skip a meal or I have a meal too early, and yeah, it definitely makes sense. If you have a routine, you are just able to really easily just work through that. And it can be as simple as just setting aside a certain day to do something. So Sunday, we're meal prepping. If you are always going to do that on Sunday, then you're never going to be not meal prepped unless something obviously comes up. But then you need to work around that. But if you're gymming at 5 p.m., then, come 4:40, you're going to be like, okay, I need to start getting ready for the gym. You're not thinking about it. It doesn't get to 6 p.m. and you go, oh, it's too late. I'm going to have to skip the gym today because it's set in stone. So I think it's very valuable to build a good routine. And a big thing I always tell my clients is start small. Start just ticking small boxes or building good habits, and then build off that every single week. Whether that's just meal prepping, start with that, and then once you ace the meal prepping, that's built into your routine. Then you can add something else in, add more, until you look back 2-3 months later, you go, how am I at this point now where I'm meal prepping, I'm going to the gym 5 times a week, I'm hitting all my steps, my cardio, and I'm never missing a beat? It's because you just consistently made small changes or tried to be a little bit better, building on those habits each week, because there's no way, especially if you're starting something new or you're starting something or you want to improve in a certain area, you're not going to be perfect the first time. And I think social media sucks with that, with everyone doing their day in the life or just portraying their perfect routines. No one knows how long that took to get there. And even with those routines, like for example, that FIFO video that I filmed that went super viral, that took me 3 swings to film. I think I start off the reel with a beard and I finished without a beard because it took me so long to film, because it was something that I was doing outside of my routine. I kept forgetting to film things. So someone might watch that and go, wow, this guy is so dialed. This guy is like, he has his routine down packed, but that is literally a snippet of like 3 months worth of footage put together. So yeah, you never know how perfect something really is. So it's just, consistently making those small changes to be a little bit better each week.
So where do most people go wrong with building good habits? Like we talk about the steps, training, making a plan. What have you seen?
The biggest thing I've seen, and what I've already touched on, is trying to be perfect from the get-go. And then also letting that get to you when you don't succeed, when you go off plan, or when you don't hit your steps, or when you've missed gym sessions, just letting that eat you up instead of just making small changes every week and then going from there. I think that is the biggest downfall of a lot of people, especially the guys or the guys and girls that are actually really keen to make a change. They know where they need to get to. They have seen people like myself or other people online. They've seen the routines that they do. They've seen what these people do to get to a certain place in life. They know they need to do the same thing, but they're not giving themselves enough time to build a good routine or build those good habits, and then go from there.
Is that because there's a lack of resilience, or because we're running away from something? And whether it's, we touched on body dysmorphia, and because they really don't like who they are, it's the fear that they're going to go back to that, and the fear that they're going to go back to that place that they hate so much.
Yeah, I think that's definitely got something to do with it, but it is also got a lot to do with who you surround yourself with. I see a lot of my clients fall back into bad habits because of their friends. They might be an outlier. They might really want to change what they're doing and improve on their physique or their mental health or whatever it is, but then their friends aren't as supportive of that, or they ask strange questions like, like, why aren't you drinking, or why are you coming to the pub and bringing your own meal, or why don't you want to go spend some time with us, get some food, that kind of thing. And if you're not, as you say, resilient, or if you're not confident enough to say, nah, this is exactly what I'm doing and this is what I need to do to, you know, get to that place in life where I want to, whether that's an improved physique or whatever that might be, then yeah, a lot of people just fall back into old habits, or they just succumb to that, you know, lifestyle that they want to move away from. So
what would be your advice to those people who don't have the outcomes to justify those choices? Because someone like you could go to a place and say, I'm not drinking. Well, it's like, well, no shit, look, he's a bodybuilder, he's massive. But someone who's just starting out in their gym journey, surrounded by these same people in these same environments, it isn't like, why are you doing that? So it's like, what would be your advice to those people who don't have the external things to prove that I mean, you don't need that, right? Like, I'm not saying... It
just makes it very easy.
It makes it hard. You're doing something different. You don't have proof. Whereas if you're a successful athlete, right, it's so easy to be like, I'm making these choices because there's a certain payoff, and it's sort of, everyone understands. But when you're making a big change and you want to change your life, you have all these things pulling you back, and there's so much fear through that uncertainty. But what would your advice be to those people who need to stick it fat and continue showing up and making those right choices to get to those places they want to go to?
Yeah, it's a tough one, because personally, the way I achieved that was to literally exclude myself or remove myself completely from those situations. So I used to be really big in going out and partying and drinking every single weekend. I think I did that continuously for about 3 or 4 years. I was still going to the gym, but every time I'd go to the gym on Monday, it'd be a reset because I was either hungover or I hadn't slept enough or whatever it was. So for me in the last few years, I've just completely removed myself from going out and being in those situations, which obviously it's not ideal. Not everyone's going to do that. I think I was quite lucky in the sense where I was able to have a group of friends, a closer group of friends that are all in the same realm. They all have the same sort of mindset around drinking, going out, that kind of thing, which makes it really easy. But for someone that might not have that, support group or friendship group, it is going to be a lot harder. I think the first thing you need to do is set yourself some clear goals. With that, it'll make it a lot easier to stick to the plan. Especially when you put your trust into someone like your coach. Having a coach is a really good way to stay accountable, as we all might know. But with having a coach, if you put your full trust in what the plan is that your coach has created, then you will be able to confidently say, if you do this, this, and this, you will get the outcome that you want. So putting your trust into your coach, doing what he says. If he says, don't drink 10 beers when you go out, stick to 2, and you do that, and then you get the results, that will be the reward that will make it all worth it. But I think another thing as well is when you are hanging out with these people, it's a good idea to talk about your goals, talk about why you might not be drinking, and if these people aren't going to accept that, or if they're not supportive of that, are they really your friends? That's the biggest thing that I've seen recently as well, is with certain people that why aren't they willing to support you when you are trying to better yourself? I think that can come from a lot of different areas as well. You might be doing something that they have always wanted to do, but they have always failed at it or not been able to do it themselves. So with that, they just get jealous and they don't want to see someone else succeed. If they're truly your friends, they will support you no matter what you do. And I do see that with certain clients that have succeeded in that realm. It's because they have that supportive friendship group where these people don't care if they don't drink as many or they don't drink at all. So I think your friendship group is very important. And the thing is, it's never too late in life to find yourself some new friends. So there are so many events and activities these days that you can go to, groups, group training, even just going to the gym, surrounding yourself with like-minded people. You will end up finding new friends if you put yourself out there, and that then can help you and push you in the right direction, I think. Even just social media is very cool in that sense, where you can follow a bunch of people that have the same idea, same mindset, same sort of goals, similar lifestyle that you want to live, just start engaging with them, start commenting on their stuff, shoot them a message, see if they want to hit a training session or whatever. I do understand, like even for me personally, I don't like to train with a whole bunch of people, especially if they're strangers. I don't really know who they are, what they train like, because I've got quite a big goal that I want to reach. I want to make sure that I'm training at my very best. So if I was training with people every now and again, I don't want to be PTing them, I guess, in a sense. So the people that I train with, I am very selective of the people that I do train with, just because I know I want a certain outcome from the workout. But I do know that there are so many people that just have met through online and training together, that kind of thing. So you don't have to surround yourself with new people to reach your goals. But if the people that you are surrounding yourself with aren't supportive of what you're trying to do, then it might be time to ask yourself some heavy questions about those people.
I think the power of having a coach is it's easier to disappoint yourself than other people. So when you have a coach and you have that accountability, it's like you have to genuinely communicate to them that, like, I haven't done this or I haven't done that. And it's such a powerful motivator versus like, oh, I'm going to go to the gym 3 times a week. Oh, I could only go once because it's all right. Like, and then make that excuse. But if you have goals, you set a plan, you work with a coach, it becomes very clear if you're doing what you need to be doing to achieve it. And then you're not only letting yourself down, but like it's so evident that you're letting yourself down because you actually have to talk it.
Yeah, but you also have to be very honest with yourself and also your coach. So and I think one of the best qualities to have as a client is honesty, whether that's with yourself or with your coach. You don't always have to, some people are going to hate me for saying this, but you don't always have to tell your coach that you have stuffed up or that you've done this or that, as long as you make those changes. If you are aware enough yourself to know that, you know, I've just eaten a Big Mac meal and I wasn't supposed to eat that Big Mac meal and I'm never going to eat that Big Mac meal again, then you don't have to tell your coach and be like, hey man, I stuffed up, I ate a Big Mac meal. All he can do is tell you what you might already know. Don't do it again. It's different if you are doing a contest prep, if you are trying to jump on stage in a bodybuilding competition, because that might throw your macros out for the week. It might hinder your progress that you're going to make for that week. So your coach can make some changes, make some alterations to the plan to account for this meal that you may have had, to ensure that you are still progressing well enough. But for someone that's Gen Pop, just trying to be fitter, healthier, better, that kind of stuff, we don't need to make any changes, and I don't need to harp on about how shit it is, and I don't need to make you feel bad for it. But, all I'm going to tell you is you know, don't do it again. And possibly sometimes as well, depending on the person, you might have a chat with them, like why did that happen? Why did it come up? Was it a mindset thing? Was it because of the people that you were with? You were out. You know you didn't have anything else. You didn't plan your meals properly. You know, if it's a mindset thing, a lot of times we can have a look at it. Is the food too low? Was this guy starving? That's why he just succumbed to the cravings of whatever it was. So there are definitely changes you can make. But if it was a one-off thing, then a lot of times, as long as you are aware enough yourself, you can then just, you know, not do that again and then move on from that. It's not that big of a deal. But yeah, the honesty with your coach is a really big thing, and I do think that is probably one of the best qualities. I always make sure I tell clients if they come to me and they go, hey man, look, I've stuffed up, had a family dinner and I ate before. I thought I was going to be good, but then all these snacks came out and I had a few snacks. I go, well, I really appreciate you for telling me that, because now we can have a chat about it. I can tell you that it's fine. You're not going to gain fat from eating a shit meal once. It's not going to happen. And if you gain any sort of weight, it might just be some water weight or some extra glycogen in your muscles that will, as soon as you get back on plan, that will dissipate. That will go away, and you'll be back on track. A really cool saying that I've got from a friend of mine, Tommy. He always says it's consistency over perfection. So if you can't be perfect, if you can't be 110% on plan, at least be consistent. So if you do have a stuff up, or if you go off plan, or if something unexpected happens, acknowledge it and don't do it again, but then just get straight back on plan. Don't let the rest of your week slip because you've just had one mistake. You just go, oh, stuff it, I'm eating McDonald's for the rest of the week. There's no need. Just jump back on the bandwagon and continue to be consistent with your plan.
We spoke about surrounding yourself with the right people and how important that is. Take us through your partner, Danny, and I guess that influence, because I feel like we underestimate the role of relationships. And I look back at my journey in the last 6 months, some of the most positive changes I've made in myself have directly stemmed from being in a relationship and the growth opportunities there. How important has that relationship been? I guess what have been some of the major lessons for you?
Oh, it's been pivotal. She was actually the one I think that really helped me flick the switch between bodybuilding and being an athlete, I guess, if I can call myself that, because we both used to go out and party quite a bit. That's obviously how we met. But yeah, I guess as the relationship sort of grew, I got her involved in the gym a lot more. And then we started just going together, and that passion sort of grew, I guess. And together we sort of figured out that we really don't rate alcohol or what it does, and how we act when we get drunk, that kind of thing. It's just wasted potential or wasted calories in that sense even. So yeah, I think that was absolutely pivotal. And even just the fact that she started doing her Cert 3 and 4 in personal training. If she never did that, I probably would never have done that or done it at the time that I have. So having that partner in your life that has the exact same mindset, the same passion, very similar goals, it is second to none, honestly. It really, she helps push me in the right direction. She holds me very accountable, and I do the same with her. I make sure I hold her accountable and push her in the right direction. I think if you can find someone like that, you got to lock that shit down fast. Make sure that you, just work really well together.
Do you find it ever gets too similar? Like you're doing so much of the same thing, and how do you guys, I guess, spread your interest into other areas and I guess take your mind off your very strong goals?
I think just being okay with having some alone time. Being alone is a very valuable skill that you can have, being alone with your own thoughts, as long as they're good thoughts or, you're being productive, that kind of thing. Being alone is very good. Something that we've done recently is kind of funny. We both had our desks in the office because we both work from home. My desk is a little bit messy at times, all the time, and hers isn't at all. So just her being in the same room as me with my messy desk, it really didn't work well for her. So she's moved her desk upstairs to work. So I guess now we do have that time where we are apart, not working together on top of each other all the time, because working from home and also living together you can spend a lot of time together with each other. And I think that was kind of awesome. And it was good to do that for a really long time, because working FIFO, obviously I'd be away for 2 weeks at a time, and then come home and we'd only have limited time to spend together. So I do think we really needed that time where we were literally like working on top of each other or just being together for extended periods of time, days on end. But now she obviously has another job. She works at Fit Stop. So a lot of times she'll be out of the house, or she will catch up with her friends and I will go get a gym session in by myself, that kind of thing. It's about having that time apart, so you can also value the time together a lot more. Doing things together outside of work, that's something I really need to work on, is just thinking about more things to do with her, and not becoming complacent. Because we spend so much time together, I'm like, well, we spent all day together. Like, why do we have to go on a picnic or something, for example? Because we already spent so much time together. But there's a difference between living under the same roof or working in the same room and actually going out and doing an activity together that might be meaningful, or create some memories or whatever it is. So I think that's a big thing, a big shift in my mindset I need to make, because in my opinion, just being in the same house is is spending time together. But obviously there is a huge difference.
And I feel like you can teach each other things that you didn't know or sort of isn't a strength of yours. So like I've learned a lot of things that I would consider sort of my weaknesses, and become more open-minded. And I guess relationships can be like a mirror sometimes.
Yeah.
Like they can really expose, I guess, your insecurities and your flaws, and it can really show you who you are and reveal to you your strengths and weaknesses and give you an idea of what you want to work on. She told me she introduced you to manifestation, which you were quite reluctant to get into. So take us through manifestation, or I guess your beliefs about that.
Yeah. She is quite big with those kind of things, manifestation. It was never a concept that I'd ever even heard of, to start off with. And then just thinking about it, just thinking about something to try and obtain this thing, I don't know, it just didn't seem very logical to me, because there's no real, I guess, concrete evidence of you investing your time or thinking about something and then getting it. But I read a book recently that was a lot about that manifestation, and just a lot more about your mindset, and how your mindset can actually affect your day-to-day life, I guess. And even though I'm not a big, huge manifestation guy yet, I do think that the way that you think or go throughout your day will definitely affect certain aspects. Like I think a lot of things that go into that are confidence, just happiness in general. If you're a sad sack, an angry person, you're not going to have people approach you or certain things happen to you because because of the energy that you put out into the world. I think a lot of opportunities, certain opportunities have come up in my life because of how I conducted myself, or just how I go through life, and being who I am. So there is definitely a merit for that whole manifestation thing. I don't know if I'll ever dive deeper into it, but I do think if you set your mind to something and you work hard enough at it, you will definitely achieve that thing. And so yeah, I guess manifesting, having certain things on your mind all the time, it will sort of be like a snowball effect, and will lead to you doing certain things in a certain way that will then lead to essentially acquiring that goal or whatever you manifested, in a sense.
What's your self-awareness like when you're eating certain foods? Like I know people who are in bodybuilding, like obviously you have to make a lot of good choices and it's quite extreme. What's your self-talk like, and I guess how do you work through eating the right foods and I guess staying accountable, staying on track, but also, I don't know, do you eat quote unquote cheat meals? And I guess how do you deal with the whole resilience piece of not letting little mistakes throw you back?
It's interesting that the longer you spend tracking your food and knowing exactly what's in it, you find out why certain food tastes good. Like sometimes I'll be eating something or something will be very yummy. It'll taste suspiciously yummy, and I'm like, what's it? There's got to be a lot of fat in this, or there's a lot of carbs in this. Or if you eat something, I'm like, I can tell you certain things on the shelf. I know very not accurately, but I know approximately how much fat or carbs or protein is in those kind of things, just because of the years and years I've been tracking and just looking at labels. Like the other day I was buying some choc chips for baking, and I had to look at every single one of the packets and pick the one with the better macros. So now for me personally, I know that Cadbury choc chips have a lot more fat and carbs in them than the Nestle ones. That is something that no one else would know.
Knowledge.
Yeah, exactly. It's very goal dependent. I guess how strict you want to be with your food. And this is what I tell clients as well. It's about being aware enough to know that if you are not 110% committed to your diet, don't expect 110% results. If you are snacking, if you are going off plan, if you're taking your girlfriend out for 2 dates a week, eating at a restaurant, then we can't expect you to be losing a lot of body weight or body fat if that is the goal. So I think the biggest thing is actually having a goal in place. It makes it a lot easier to stick to your diet. That on top of the accountability side of things, it may seem like I am someone that is very dialed with nutrition and whatnot, but yeah, I definitely have moments of weakness as well. There have been so many times when the only reason why I didn't eat something off plan or buy a chocolate bar or whatever was because I knew that my check-in was the next day. And, I'd been tracking very well all week and my body weight was heading in the right direction. And then if I have this cheat meal, it's just going to throw it out. And then it's going to look like I did not make any progress all week. So for me, that's a really big thing, is that accountability side of things. But yeah, just being open and honest to what sort of progress you want to make. If you want to make good, fast progress, then sticking to a meal plan is going to fast track that so much. And I can see that I've got a couple of clients who are absolutely by the book. I'd almost say that they are better at sticking to their plan than I am, because they are just absolutely ruthless with not eating off plan, that kind of thing. And it reflects in their results. It reflects in how they look, how their physique looks, and the sort of progress that they make every single week. I tend to, in the past, every single year during my bulk, just sort of let myself go, because the goal or the end goal is so far away, like the next competition or whatever it is. A bulk is a lot longer than a cut. So when you're in a bulk for a long period of time, I find that a lot of times I just let myself slip and just continue to accept small failures, not failures, but like I'll have a chalky bar here and then there, and then 2 turn into 3. And then all of a sudden you've put on 5 to 6 kilos of unnecessary body fat because you've done that over a period of 3 or 4 months. So with that, I think it comes over time, just being better and better. The first year I committed to a bulk, I got way too fat by just not eating the right thing. Last year, same thing again, just eating out, and I think as well, just skipping my cardio was a big thing, not getting all my steps in, not being as meticulous with it. And it all adds up in the end. And I was 113 kilos. And even though a lot of people would look at that and they'd look at that physique and be like, that you're not fat. And I don't think I was fat, but I had a lot of excess weight. I ended up doing like a mini cut and I got down to 96. So I lost 16 kilos in, I think it might have been 12 weeks or something. So yeah, I might not have looked fat or been overweight or whatever it is, but when I compare the two, I can say that there was a lot of excess body weight there that didn't need to be there at all. So yeah, even people like me, I definitely slip up a lot, and it's just about continuously being better. So this time round, I'm going to really try, and this time I have been very strict with my getting all my steps in and my cardio as well. Now it's just about sticking to the diet, making sure that I am very on plan to not gain all that excess body weight, because then you just have to do a cut and get rid of it all again. It just takes time.
What are you trying to optimize for? Like, it seems like there's so much sacrifice in bodybuilding, right? Like, to achieve these goals. But what's the end purpose? Like, what is the real reason that you're investing so much time and energy into, like, this process of becoming the best version of yourself, the best bodybuilder? Because it takes so long, it's so much energy. Like, why not just be someone who goes to the gym and, is strong and looks good, but doesn't do everything to such a high level of perfection? Do you consciously think about what your end goal is, like, and that drives you, or do you just feel this sort of energy pushing you in this direction?
Well, for me personally, I'd love to be a professional athlete, and with that, like achieving my pro card status, professional athlete status, I guess. And it takes us back to what I was talking about earlier about having a certain area in your life where you try to be the very best at. So I could very easily just, go to the gym and just be a gym guy, someone that gyms and eats well every now and again, but then I will never reach that fulfillment of achieving the best physique I could have ever achieved. For me, it's a bodybuilding thing. For other people, it might be, something else, making music, surfing, whatever it might be. Like, there are plenty of people doing really cool things and working to be the best in that realm. And I think I just love the drive to consistently be better and work towards being the very best that I can be. It's just I just picked bodybuilding to do that in. And I do think bodybuilding has definitely changed my life a lot. And when I say bodybuilding, I mean moving from just going to the gym, because that's what it all started as, a hobby. And then I met my best mate, current housemate as well, Spencer. He sort of flicked that switch for me when I started actually really tracking my food, tracking my lifts in the gym, that kind of thing. Started making some really, really good progress. I think what I see with it as well, it demands a certain amount of respect from people without you having to do anything, because everyone knows how much it takes to put this sort of effort in and to achieve a great physique. There's been a lot of reels that have popped up, or people just talking about it online that I've seen recently, where they say your physique or your body is something that you cannot purchase. You can't just be, even the richest people in the world can't just buy a good physique. It's something that you have to work towards and put the effort in, put the time in. And I think it's a really cool accomplishment in my opinion, striving to be the best that I can. And with that, obviously as well, another big thing is just walking the walk, talking the talk, like setting a really good example for my clients, just anyone else around that is following me or that knows me, just showing people what is possible. I recently got a message from a guy. He originally sent me a message almost exactly a year ago, saying that he saw one of my videos and he felt really inspired because he saw that I was working a really long job but still making time to go to the gym. And he said that he was going to start going to the gym again and working on himself. And he actually messaged me about a week ago now and was like, "Hey man, I sent you a message about a year ago, and I actually did that. I actually started going to the gym. He's lost 8 kilos now, and he's found the drive again and really enjoying life again." So yeah, it was actually really surreal to have him reach out again and be like, "Hey man, I actually did what I originally said," and because he saw one of my videos and it really inspired him. So that's why I don't want to be average. I don't want to be above average. I really want to strive to be one of the best in the world, just to set that awesome example.
I also feel like when you know your capacity for greatness is so much higher, you know your potential, you know how hard you can work, and then you sort of, I don't know, for me, like when I get complacent with my routines and stuff, like I know it, like I can feel it, and no matter how much you lie to yourself, like it can eat away at you, because you know there's so much more to go. And there's balancing like self-acceptance and like, okay, what am I actually doing this for? Like I'm trying to be better, but I have to sometimes stop myself and say, okay, but why? Like, am I trying to achieve a goal, perfection, or am I running away from something? So I have those honest conversations because I don't want to guilt myself for the wrong reasons, but I also know that energy can be directed in the right way and push me to where I want to go. So just having those reflections has been important for me.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
Yeah. So yeah, that's mostly what I got. Is there anything else you want to touch on before you wrap it up?
Nah, I think I've definitely said enough.
No, well, thanks for coming on. It was good to get your insights into some of your journey so far. And obviously, I guess for you, you're sort of still at the start of your journey. I'm sure you got so many more goals and ambitions with bodybuilding. But yeah, I loved hearing your perspectives on FIFO and competing and I guess your mindset and stuff. So Thanks for coming on and talking us through that.
No, thanks for having me. It's been awesome. It's
No
good
worries.
to dive deep with certain things. I think it's funny. I'd finish with this. I actually had a Zoom call yesterday morning with a guy. I signed up to a mentorship with someone, and he was sort of the salesperson, and he asked me some very heavy questions, I guess, just diving real deep, and made me realize that I haven't actually spent a lot of time thinking about those heavy hitting questions. So I think, things like this, even though, we're going to post this or whatever it is for other people to listen to, it's also really good to just have some really good conversations with people, ask some heavy hitting questions that really make you think, because a lot of times we just go through life. We don't think about, what do you want to do here? Why are you even doing this? Or those kind of things. We just go on through life, just doing things without knowing the why. So yeah, it's cool to have these kind of conversations.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's so easy to wander through life, but those hard conversations often lead to massive positive changes if you have the courage to sort of have them and uncover some
be
things.
Honest.
Exactly,
Yeah.
be honest. But that can be hard, but
Yeah, of course.
yeah.
Of course.
Anyways,
awesome.
Thanks, Vic.
No worries.